You were supposed to hear the sound of the bell that welcomed you to the championship rounds. You got the host, King Amin of Essex, yours truly, and I'm joined with my main guy, my OG, my partner, Big Bro. You know how it go. This is hardcore boxing news. Forget about the number, but you need to know it's 51. But if you are hardcore, you already know who this man is. I'm gonna let him give a brief introduction. Go ahead and do your thing.
Hey, I'm Jay Hardcore, Hardcore Boxing News. And as I tell everybody, I just love boxing. And I love getting together with my young fella right here because we get these sparring going on. And I'm going to tell you, boy, it gets bloody in here sometimes. So I'm ready to kick it off. My Instagram is Hardcore Boxing News 51. And you can catch me also on YouTube, just straight Hardcore Boxing News. And we just try to get all the news out to you. So it's a one-stop shop for all your boxing needs. And that's all I got going on right now.
Well, let's talk about that quick. That the one-stop shop. You got content on YouTube, and we talked about it a little bit behind the scenes, and I want you to share with us because we had a big fight weekend. The city was on fire. DC was on fire. You had the opportunity to go to some of the press events, and I want you to share because people might know the handle on IG. It allows them to get the news content, certainly keeps me abreast. But can you just share with the people what that experience was like from the media perspective?
Oh man, it's amazing experience. The reason why it's so amazing is because everybody's in there just trying to get that news, trying to get that best quote, trying to get the best position, trying to send it back off to their news handler and everything like that. So, I mean, it's all about deadlines. It's all about being first. I mean, we bumping shoulders and I'm telling you, man, it's like the what is it called, the stock exchange, where everybody was just crazy, and just trying to get the fighters getting interviews from them. And I would tell you, man, sometimes it's crazy, like Black Friday in there, boy.
Just the frantic nature of it, people reaching over you. You got to have that etiquette, like, yo, you bumped me, but I know you didn't mean no harm. You just trying to get your microphone over here. You got your bag hitting me and shit. It's all kinds of discomfort in order to be immersed in that crowd, right?
Oh, man, I'm going to tell you, man, then I had a couple of people, man, you doing an interview, and they'll take their camera and put it, like, pretty much in your space. So their camera's almost in your face, videotaping them. I mean, it's get crazy in there. You know what I mean? And sometimes when you hook up, with a fighter, and it's just you and you get the exclusive, somebody just come in, bird dog, come on in. I'll be like, hey, it's just me, man. And you got to do it like that, because if not, man, they're going to take cold hard advantage of you.
Yeah.
I tell you, this boxing game is a dirty game, boy. It gets muddy, boy. I'm telling you, it gets real muddy up in there.
And I'm glad you said that, because that's kind of the theme of today's show is muddy waters, because we got some topics that's from across the pond and on this side of the water and everything in between. We know there's going to be some mud in there, man. So just real quick, sticking to last weekend or the whole event, are there any important takeaways either from the fighters or from your experience that you wanted to share?
I'm going to tell you a good experience I had. I met Sean Porter for the first time, man. And he's just like how you see him on screen. The brother is a class act individual, and I really enjoyed just sitting rapping to him. He keeps it 100% real, and I asked him that question. I said, do you get that itch anymore? And he like, nah, I'm done with boxing, and he was like, I'm pretty much doing what I want to do right now. And I asked him, how does it feel to be on this side of the table now? Because you're media now. And he was like, man, it's tougher than I thought it was going to be. And he was like, you're talking about different fighters and you end up saying something they don't like. And now you done bruised that relationship a little bit. So, you're actually tiptoeing through the tulips, just trying to, deal with all these tissue, skin boxing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Real, you know what I mean? I mean, they a lot of them just wear their emotions on their sleeve, man, and don't want you to say anything, especially anything real these days. You know what I mean?
Well, I think that's what makes our job interesting. And I know having the experience, I guess you have a similar, I guess, perspective as Sean Porter, because it's different from when you covering it and you kind of pining your resources versus where, you gotta, make that relationship and build that bridge and maybe think about it. Well, you know what? This post may affect it, but I gotta be real. I have to put this information out there, right? Do you find that challenge sometimes with how you present information?
Well, you know what? And that's why it's called hardcore boxing news. I got to keep it hardcore, man. And certain things I just don't I report on. I don't report on outside stuff of the boxing ring. I only report what's happening in the boxing ring. If you done got arrested or this, that, and the other, I don't report that. It's going to get out there. I just don't report the negative things that's happening in people's lives, man. That, at that particular time, they're going through a lot as it is, and they're being ridiculed, and you don't even know if they're innocent or guilty yet.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But yet you're just trying to get a good click. Well, I got to keep my morals where they need to be at. You know what I mean? So if it ain't boxing, I ain't talking. You know what I mean? So that's pretty much how I get down.
Absolutely. And I love that. I take notes and I follow. And we're gonna follow protocol right now. Muddy Waters. This particular body of water is becoming less muddy. I'm talking about 140-pound division. I've been screaming for this fight for a long time, especially because of one individual. I'm talking about Puerto Rico's Subrael Matias. He's in an IBF eliminator against Jeremiah Ponce. That's a PBC production. And I like that fight because 140 was kind of up in the air. But you had Regis just stake his claim as he should have and really clarified things. He brought some purity to it. And this fight, I think, will bring some more purity because Regis, he's the man at 140. What do you think of this fight and perhaps a potential matchup for that winner against Regis?
Well, I actually like it, to be truthfully honest, but I think this time I like Ponce actually, man, and yeah, I like him, man.
You hitting me, man.
I like how he got down on his last fight, man. He dig down and he showed me some machismo. You know what I mean? Got up off the floor and did what he had to do. So I like that gutsy type, rocky type stuff, and battle your way back to the victory. You know what I mean? So I likes that. So I'm gonna go ahead with him on this one. He's also undefeated, so I likes that as well. And they're actually talking about the winner getting Josh Taylor in this particular one.
Whoa.
That's kind of weird, yeah. Because I think he still has one belt?
Holding hostage, one belt.
And I think, and they are, what's good about this fight, they're 1-2, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They're 1-2. Then you normally don't get number one and number two to fight each other. So it sounds like a good fight. Where it supposed to be at? Minneapolis or somewhere?
Yeah, it's going to be on one of the PBC cards, and I think the next one out in Minnesota, I believe.
Minnesota, okay.
Yeah, man, and and see, it's interesting. See, a little bit of mud in there. I thought it was clear, but with Josh Taylor, because I'm thought, he's got Catterall business, and then he was supposed to be moving up because he had so much trouble making 140. But so now this one becomes even more unclear than I once thought it was, man.
Muddy water, boy.
well, sticking to that muddy water, let's talk about Leigh Wood versus Mauricio Lara. Now, this one is muddy for me because Lara was supposed to, on several occasions, kind of get his opportunity for a title shot. We know what happened between him and Warrington has proved himself not on a level as those guys, right? Warrington, he had the win over Warrington, then the clash of heads. Then they didn't make that fight. Warrington moved on and did what he didn't do. But Lara's kind of been stifled, even though he's won after that fight, hasn't gotten that title shot. Finally gets it against Leigh Wood. And it's not Leigh Wood's fault because Wood fought back against Michael Conlan, got that DDT and got up off the canvas to do his thing. So it's like this fight, I like it because of the action I think is going to be there. But I'm still unclear on how Lara's being treated in the featherweight division. What do you think about that particular fight or elsewhere in the featherweight division?
I think it's a good fight. I think it's a good fight. It's not one that I really kept, focus on and everything. But I do feel though that it's a good fight, and I feel though that Wood probably be the better on the winner on that one for sure.
Yeah, it's a tough fight for me to pick, but if I had to lean, I
Mm-hmm.
think I would lean towards Wood. Lara is definitely a puncher and he's tough, but Wood is just as tough, and in fights. And see, he has a history of being brought in as an underdog. And people kind of like, yeah, Leigh Wood, he don't, because he's got the losses as well. But I mean, he's showing. You talked about liking fighters that have that Rocky medal, that prove that they got that testicular fortitude. I
Mm-hmm.
think Leigh Wood is one of those guys. And should he beat Lara, he's going to be a name in the featherweight division that people are going to keep talking about, on the UK side of things, but definitely here on the state side. And as I'm talking about stateside to US, here's where the muddies get really water. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Adam Azim, but just recently there have been kind of just like dream, speculation amongst the hardcores. What would a fight between Adam Azim and Keyshawn Davis look like? I don't know if it's too early, but what do you think about either fighter or the speculation around that fight?
Man, that kid Keyshawn is just looking spectacular. I mean, I really like how he gets down, man. And I think that he has improved so much since the Olympics, man. He has more of a pro style anyway. So he loves to just get it. You know what I mean? He's training with Terrence Crawford. So he's getting all that tutelage from him and learning a lot. And you see what that did for Shakur Stevenson. It really made him a way better fighter. You know what I mean? Just training with Bud, sparring with Bud, and doing those exact things. At this particular time, man, that kid, Keyshawn Davis, he's dangerous, man. He didn't get the knockout on the last fight, but yet he still made it look good. You see what I'm saying? It didn't look bad, like, I hate to say it, but like how the fight this weekend was with Boots. So, Keyshawn, even though that he didn't get the knockout, it was a good fight. It was definitely a good fight.
Because it was a step up in competition, number one, a step up in rounds, and definitely he gained a lot of experience. I can admit I'm a little bit older, maybe a lot older than Keyshawn, and I have to admit, as an older brother, as an older black man that could be an uncle, father, so on in that regard, I was a little bit quick with rushing to judgment on his demeanor. I'm like, he out there, talking shit on the internet. But I had to take a step back and realize I was being an old man. And then I'm being real. And then when I had to look and compare it and say, well, he's getting more attention for what he's doing inside the ring than outside of the ring. So I had to walk back my opinion. And let's not forget, he was named the prospect of the year. So, I don't know. And Adam Azim has his own business. As far as his own pedigree, he's a very good fighter, made his bones in the Olympics, for Team Great Britain. And I don't know if this is a case of kind of like attaching your wagon to, someone else, because this is where I'm going with it. In the same vein, you got this gentleman, Gary Cullen, that's coming out and saying that him and Shakur Stevenson has a history. And he's, talking about a super fight between him and Shakur. And I'm thinking, are these guys, kind of just in their own world with similar experience, or are they just trying to catch the wave? I'm no disrespect to Gary Cullen. I know he just signed a good deal, but are they trying to create like the male version of a Shields Marshall, or are they just hopping on the momentum of these guys' name?
I like how you put that. I can agree with you with how they're doing it like a Shields Marshall. Actually, I can see that for sure, 100%. So,
And I use that analogy because I don't want to discredit either one of their resumes. I'm going to go do my homework on Mr. Gary Cullen. But like I said, I know Adam Azim. I know he's good money and he's just as accomplished. And he has a lot of good pro performances already. So I could kind of see the logic of those two guys. But when I seen Gary Cullen do it, I said, okay, I need to know a little bit more. And if it does pan out that they kind of just exist on, you know, opposite planes of the earth. You know what I'm saying? It's like music. You say, yo, I came up with that bar. And it's like, bruh, you think you're the only one writing raps? They rapping in Germany. They rapping in the UK. They rapping in LA. They rapping everywhere. So, you know, yeah, maybe they will meet up in the future. But I know one thing, the guys on the UK, and they're going to have to get more attention from us stateside. They're going to have to do more before we think that these are credible fights, because we want to give Shakur and Keyshawn all the respect should they meet up with those guys. We don't want people to say, oh, this is a guy we never heard of, or he didn't knock him out and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, I'm hoping that these guys are working for those fights, and that, you know, as they get there, you know?
Yeah, one thing about, it's always been some type of stick about the UK fighters. They straight up and down. And, they're normally beatable. But, one person that came over here, Josh Taylor, he's from over the UK, right?
Yeah,
and,
man.
Man, he really showed us something different. You know what I mean? I was surprised greatly, man, when he fought Regis, man, and did his due, man. So, you can't always judge them from where they at, where they from.
Definitely. Remember, before him, it was Joe Calzaghe. So it's sometimes you get these European guys, and it's like you judge them too quickly, you're gonna miss something. So definitely, shout out to both those guys. Keep working, because we want to see that one building up. Now, talking about building up, Evander Holyfield mentioned, and we are all anticipating this fight, but he gave us such a strong label. He said that Better Beeve and Bivol is one of the most anticipated fights. And how do you describe it in the world? You know, the whole world's waiting on that fight. And tell me, is he hyping it up? And not in a bad way, but is that a grand statement, or is that just for hardcores? Is he speaking for hardcores, or is he trying to let people that know that don't even really follow boxing that they need to pay attention to this one?
I think both, because it's definitely a hardcore's anniversary. You know what I mean? That's a fight that we salivate for. It's something that we definitely want to actually see. I mean, man, I want to see that fight so bad, because Bivol has just gotten so good and so patient and so, oh man, just good.
Yeah.
Then you still got Better Be, they got 100% knockout ratio, 100%. And I mean, and the boy don't miss. You know what I mean? In his last couple of fights, in his last fight, he looked pretty good. But the fights before that, I was starting to think that he was wearing down. You know what I mean? Maybe getting older. I don't know. But if anybody can beat him, I think Bivol can beat him. Because I think Bivol can actually stay away from that punch and be a smart fighter. He knows how to use range and distance and everything, and his footwork is good. So I feel, though, that he can actually take the rounds late and drown Better Be. You know what I mean? And possibly finish him, or definitely win by unanimous decision. Let me take that back. Split decision.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to deliver an unpopular opinion.
Bring it.
Number one, I think that Anthony Yarde is being overlooked by Better Beeve.
Yeah.
I severely think he's being, and I ran with this a couple weeks ago, but these guys that are being brought in as an opponent, and Yarde is being brought in as an opponent, he's got the experience of being in there with Kovalev. I think he's going to bring something to the table, and I like that fight as more of a 50-50 fight than a lot of people. I'm going to relate Better Be to somebody that I remember, and that's somebody that's my Zoe homie. Sock passe to all my Zoes. I'm talking about Adonis Stevenson. I think Better Beef is a lot like Adonis Stevenson in that, yeah, he got the power and he's legit, but it's something that can be his undoing by somebody that we might not think highly of. And if you don't think highly of Yard, I think he's coming. Now, granted, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Cool. I ain't wrong with being, I have no problem with being wrong, right? I just think that Yard has a more difficult time against a fighter like Bivol. Therefore, Bivol, and again, I side with you in that Bivol, I think, is going to give Better Beef the fight of his life. Because Bivol has the confidence of coming in off of 2 Mexicans that he put down. Not just a regular Mexican, but Canelo Alvarez, and then the make another Hove, like you know what I'm saying, like the fake Canelo Zurdo that Oscar was trying to make. Okay, Bivol took him out too. So I think as far as the light heavyweight division, Bivol's the front runner. I see him being the winner between him and Better Beef, but I also see that Better Beef may or may not make it out of that fight with Anthony Yard, man. So, you know, I'm gonna have to stand on that. We're gonna have to see how that opinion ages. You know,
well, you know what? You actually threw something in there that I actually forgot about. And all of us is forgetting about it. He does have a fight with Yard next. And Yard don't like the disrespect that he's getting right now, that he is not being counted in as to win this fight. So sometimes when a guy gets that much stuff against him, he gets a resentment and he works even harder to actually, because the boy can fight now.
Yeah,
he can fight. You know, he was knocked down though, but what's his name? That knocked him down and stopped him.
Lyndon Kovalev.
You know what I mean? So he definitely that lets us know that it can be done. You know, so because I feel that once you get KO'd, knocked out, TKO, that's always in the back of your mind. You know what I mean? And it's in that. And then when you got a puncher, the way the puncher is thinking, like, oh man, I can knock him out too. You know what I mean? Because you know, that's just how they get down and how they think, that mentality. But you know what? Y'all got a good damn chance in this fight. He got youth on his side, and he's strong as a goddamn bull. You know, I just feel though that he just got to be careful. You can't get into a slug match with him. You know what I'm saying? And you know, and because of you feeling though that you've been disrespected, you got to still be smart about it. You know what I mean? And you know, wait for them to make a mistake, because that's what it's all about. Waiting for them to make that mistake and capitalize on it. So he definitely had the chance.
And I want to add to that, in the UK, a lot of the fighters, they don't have the reluctance that we have stateside when a fighter loses. And the pure example of that is, look at the difference between Anthony Joshua when he suffers a loss and a fighter like Deontay Wilder. Not comparing the individuals, I'm talking about how their respective countries receive them, all right?
Yeah,
in the UK, when you lose, yo, he went out there, he fought, we love him, he'll be back next time. Over here, they kind of throw you away. You know, your supporters will support you, but, you know, a lot of people are more fair weather. And I think that does something mentally to a fighter when they knows and say, listen, I'm coming back, and I got the support of the people when I come back, versus of trying to galvanize a comeback. You got to work yourself up and convince others that you're primed for a comeback. So I think bearing that in mind, and all this time that Yard has had to prepare, like you said, being overlooked and kind of disregarded. All the posters is out for Better Beef, Bivol, like the Yard fight ain't happening on the 28th. So
this disrespect is real.
And we're going to have to see, man. So let's talk about my favorite, women's boxing, right? This is part of the Women's Boxing Wednesday series. And I wanted to bring up a fighter whose name was mentioned after a women's boxing legend was interviewed yesterday. Shout out to TBV. Shout out to the Boxing Voice. Friend Sean Cruz Dezern was on there yesterday talking about some potential fights, and she mentioned the idea of perhaps fighting Savannah Marshall, which I love that fight, or Hannah Gabriels, which I also love that fight. Now, we've spoken about the two former, both the hip hop diva, Cruz Dezern, and also Savannah Marshall, but we haven't talked about Hannah Gabriels, and that's who I'm talking about today, ladies and gentlemen. And Hannah Gabriels is, I think, one of the forgotten ones, one of the forgotten pioneers. And as much as I listened yesterday and I said, damn, Francois Cruz Dezern was everywhere in the beginning of women's boxing, well, you'd have to include Hannah Gabriels as well. She's only had 2 losses, and one of those losses was to guess who?
The GOAT. The GOAT. I mean, the GOAT.
Right? And that was at middleweight. That's her only loss. And the only other loss she had, she went and avenged that. It was from earlier in her career. And you got to just imagine, if go look at her box record, go find her however you want to. Again, one of the pioneers. She has that Layla Ali style in that she's very attractive, very strongly built, but beautiful, and she's a fighter, you know. She is from Costa Rica. Shout out to all my Afro Latinos, you know what I'm saying? All of my Hondureños, all of my Belizeans, you know what I'm saying? Panamanians, all right? You know how we do, baby. Even my Blaxicans, even though they try to hide y'all from us, right? But definitely I want to shout out Hannah Gabriels, because even though she has been inactive, she last fought in April of last year. If she comes back and makes that fight, those are 2 legends between her and Cruz Dezern. That would be an amazing opportunity. And, you know, maybe for her just warming up to that opportunity, she gives us a fight sometime this year. So, you know, shout out to Hannah Gabriels. Yeah, man. Any thoughts on Miss Gabriels?
Man, I love her, man. You know, I felt though, you know, when she fought Shields, I thought that still was going to be kind of like a 50-50 fight. You know what I mean? But Clarissa's just, you know, I mean, to lose against her, you know, it's like when Canelo lost against Floyd. You see what I'm saying? You know, people ain't going to say, oh, man, you know, you lost against Floyd, and look how Canelo came back. You know what I'm saying? Even though he just got beaten by Bivol, but you know, I'm gonna leave that alone. But
but
you know,
he had
Bivol,
the education,
Bivol,
that
my
experience.
man. Exactly. And she hasn't lost since then.
No.
She hasn't lost since then. You know what I mean? The girl can fight. Simple as that. She can fight.
And isn't that the great thing about women's boxing? Because we get that element on the state side or in the UK, and that women's boxing period, that loss don't mean nothing, because chances are you've only lost to somebody that's good as a hell. You know what I mean? Like a former champion or a current champion, because every fight means so much. The depth is just starting to get there. So when you look on it, you say, oh, she only lost to Clarissa Shields. You're going to say, well, who that fought Clarissa Shields didn't lose to her? Including Savannah Marshall, including Cruz Dezern, who I already mentioned, who is a Hall of Famer in her own, like, you know what I'm saying?
Clarissa is a bad, as we used to say, a bad mama jamma, boy.
Yes, she is. And shout out to all the bad mama jammers in women's boxing.
Yes,
and rolling right into a little bit of fight week preview, we do have the Kim Clavel versus Jessica Neri Plata fight. That's I think junior flyweight unification, because like I said, women's boxing, every fight seems to matter. So now they in the unification this weekend. That's out in Canada. I'm definitely watching that. But I'm also going to be watching Efe Ajagba, heavyweight fighter, only 1 loss, and I'm glad that he showed resiliency in that loss. He was scheduled to fight Oscar Rivas, but now he's fighting Stephen Big Shot Shaw. Shaw's being brought in as an opponent against Ajagba. Tell me, man, give me some game on this one, because I got my ideas, but I want you to help me.
Man, I'm gonna be dirt honest, man. I think Shaw gonna pull it off, to be truthfully honest, man. I feel though that he's the better boxer, you know, and we see what F.A. Chin looked like, you know what I mean? He does get rattled, you know, and he one thing about them cats that just come at you just throwing punches, man, they're the best type to actually get a knockout with, you know what I mean? Because they're making so many mistakes. They throw multiple punches and you can catch them in between that punch and lays them out, you know what I mean? So, and that's how he comes. He just comes and just maul you, you know? So that's how I feel on that one.
And I like the fact that you mentioned that Shaw is definitely a boxer, man. And you know, I'm not biased. I just love the sweet science. I love power, but I feel like it's like pistols. I love pistols, but I like working with my hands. You know what I'm saying? Because you can put a pistol in anybody's hand, but when you take it away, where do they stand? Take a power
Exactly.
away from a fighter, where does he stand? And it's hard for me to believe that they got all that heavyweight work over there at Top Rank for Efe. You got Richie Torres. You have of course, you got Jared Anderson over there. And I'm not sure where he's been at as far as developing. He's got the room to be next to those guys, you know what I'm saying? But you know, I don't know if he's taking note. I don't know if he's still walking around with his pistol, or did he decide, you know what I mean, he might have to be able to be good with his hands. So, you know, I'm glad you made it comfortable for me, because I like Shaw in this fight as well. You know, but if Ajagba wins, then that means he's been working on something, and we need to keep watching him. But you know, we're gonna have to wait and see, I guess.
Oh, we're definitely gonna have to wait and see on that. But I think I think we got this one solid, though. To be truthfully honest, I think we got this one solid. I really think that he wins, and he wins nice.
And this is the beauty of being brought in as an opponent. You be brought in as an opponent and create an opportunity. And one man who knows this more than anybody else is Johnny Rice. Okay. Anybody that is not familiar with South Carolina's own Johnny Rice, not only do you not have a sense of humor, but you haven't been paying attention to boxing as of late. This man came in and upset Michael Coffey Polite twice. The first one was in my city, Newark, New Jersey. The second time he did it, might have been in New York, wherever it was. He did it again. And now he's being brought in as an opponent again against Guido Vianello, I believe is how you say his name, a top-ranked prospect. You know, they're very high on him, but Johnny Rice is high on himself. What do you think about this matchup?
I still think Rice is the guy to upset the apple cart again. You know, I mean, the whole thing in a nutshell is wondering, is he in shape? Because that's the one thing about it when you get called in as, you know, a fill-in, well, not a fill-in, but you know what I'm saying.
Sure.
That they ask those type of questions. Well, how long have you been sparring? And what's your weight right now? And based on them answers is how they actually decide if we're going to fight you or not. So if a guy was just saying, yeah, you know, I've been going to the gym, this, that, and the third, but I haven't been getting a lot of sparring in lately. Or, you know, I'm wearing such and such. And, you know, just like how with that Jake Paul and Hasim Rockman Jr., you know what I mean? You know, they called him and asked him, well, how much you weigh right now? This, that, and the third, you know, have you been in the gym? And they knew he wasn't in the gym. You know what I mean? And they knew his weight was crazy. And they gave him just this crazy
situation
to actually fight. But for the money, he was like, yo, I can do it. You see what I'm saying? But he had to lose like 30, 40 pounds. So,
crazy.
You know, so it depends on if they're ready and if they've been in the gym. So if he's one of them cats that stays ready, we're gonna have a great fight.
And something tells me a good old country boy like Johnny Rice, he know how to play possum. So they probably called him. He said, yeah, man, I ain't been in the gym. I was just chilling at mama's house. Meanwhile, that boy been working out and getting work all kinds of places. Say, yeah, you know, I just been eating. I ain't been doing too good. And he been staying in shape because, yeah, I don't know. He's kind of been making a career off of being called in as a late replacement. So he been out in Vegas with the big suits and the boxing shoes on. But I'm telling you, Johnny Rice is he's got what it takes to do something, and I hope he does what it takes. You know, that top ranked card also's got some you know, the whole
one
top.
thing I like what you said about that. But where we come from, coming from Virginia, Southwest, we call it country dumb. we play country dumb on them. You know what I mean? Because you learn more.
Mm-hmm.
But go ahead.
You say, well, what is that? Oh, I never understood that part. But yeah, that top rank card should be pretty good. Got Adam Blue Nose Lopez on there against Abraham Nova. Top rank is just mad. That's like sink or swim. They like, we're gonna get rid of one of y'all. You know what I'm saying? Make it entertaining. Somebody got to go. You know what I'm saying? That's what that fight smells like to me. So it should just be entertaining to watch. I see, Blue Nose just putting the pressure on Nova. So, that's how I see that one going. And you got the young boys, Shu Shu Carrington. He's back. Haven Brady Jr., he's back. And some more guys, man. What do you think about the rest of that top ranked card?
Oh man, I like the kid Shu Shu, man. I really like him, man. He's up and coming. I said many times before he got next, But sometimes what I do like about top rank is that they end up pitting their guys against each other in a sink or swim, like you said. You know what I mean? And that's what they're doing. I feel though they're going to do with the Haney and Shakur's, and they're going to pit them against each other before they leave them. You know what I mean? Because they know eventually they're going to leave them, so they're going to get that money out of them before they go. So that's top rank do. But top rank, they're about that in-house fighting. They want to be able to get a percentage off of both fighters, not just one fighter. So when they keep it in-house, they make more money. So
no, for sure.
Also,
man.
yeah, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say that's we light on the action, so I'm glad that they doing that, and hopefully that creates a little bit more excitement and creates a lasting impression. You know what I'm saying? Especially for this weekend and beyond, because once these prospects start to get better, remember, they're going to need to be matched either with each other or stiffer competition. So like you said, I'm glad Top Rank is willing to say, hey, you know what? We got a young guy that's coming up at 135. Then we got an old guy that's sitting around at 135. Buddy, get off the couch. This young guy needs a place to sit.
Goddamn right.
As always, my brother, thank you for joining me. Is there anything you want to let the people know before we close out?
Oh man, not too much. As I say, I'm at Instagram at Hardcore Boxing 51. Please come over to my YouTube channel. It's starting to sizzle, and the podcast is going to be kicking off. And the first person that's supposed to be being on the podcast is going to be Showtime Sean Porter. So I'm gonna keep my fingers crossed on that. I believe he's a man of his word, and I think that's going to be an excellent interview, because he has so much knowledge of the boxing game, and he has fought every single person in that 147 division. So I'm definitely looking forward to picking his brain and hearing everything he got to say about boxing. So stay tuned for that, but you got to go over to Hardcore Boxing News playing at YouTube with Hardcore Boxing News.
Absolutely. And don't forget Hardcore Boxing News 51 on Instagram. It's your boy King Amin of Essex in those championship rounds. We out of here, ladies and gentlemen.